Hi, I'm Shannon Baldioli, an educator at the National Air and Space Museum. I want to introduce you to Samantha Thompson, curator of science and technology at the National Air and Space Museum. Sam is going to share the story of Dr. Vera Rubin, and then we're going to chat some about the barriers she overcame to become an astronomer and have an extremely large telescope named after her.
Vera Rubin loved astronomy since she was a child. From her bedroom window, she would watch the stars move, and she dreamt of becoming an astronomer. She went to Vassar College, which was then an all-women's school, and in 1948, she graduated as the only astronomy major. She wanted to go to Princeton University for graduate school, but Princeton did not permit women to even apply. She did finally get a PhD from Georgetown University, but her research was largely dismissed by the field dominated by men. After pressing for a job at the Carnegie Institution, Rubin decided to study a topic that wasn't of great interest to the majority of astronomers. She really wanted to carve her own space in the community. So Rubin studied the motion of galaxies. Using a new type of instrument, she observed how stars orbited the center of a galaxy, and she found that stars near the edge didn't orbit the way that astronomers predicted they should. They were moving much faster. This led Rubin to an idea that astronomers had theorized but never observed, that there must be some missing mass we call dark matter that is in the galaxies and is speeding up the stars. A new telescope is being built in Chile, which is now called the Vera Rubin Observatory. One of the many things astronomers will use this telescope for is to better understand the nature of dark matter. This is a lovely tribute to a woman who, before passing away in 2016, served as an advocate for young women in astronomy everywhere.
So I didn't know anything about Vera Rubin until I started working on an exhibition with Sam, but Vera's story has become one of my favorite stories of women in STEM. Sam, I'm curious to know how Dr. Rubin encountered and then overcame some of those barriers that we learned about earlier. What do you think was Vera Rubin's biggest challenge pursuing astronomy in the 1940s and 50s?
I think the first and biggest challenge Rubin faced was trying to enter a space that not only did not permit women, but did not consider women as interested or valuable participants. When she expressed an early interest in astronomy, her teachers recommended she try something more appropriate for a woman, like painting. This is a rather common story among women astronomers we know of during the 19th and 20th centuries.
Were you ever discouraged from pursuing astronomy early on?
I was actually really actively encouraged to follow my interests throughout my life. I decided I wanted to be an astronaut when I was 5, and then later wanted to study astronomy, and then even later decided I wanted to study the history of astronomy. And throughout that whole process, I had very supportive parents and teachers. In college, I was lucky that I had a lot of women classmates in the astronomy program that I could work with who made it seem normal to be a woman in astronomy. There were, however, very few women professors, which is a problem that still continues. There were definitely times where I felt uncomfortable because of my gender, but the professors, staff, and other students were very encouraging of all people following astronomy.
That's really great to hear. One of the things I really love hearing about is how Vera Rubin and her husband divided responsibilities at home, allowing for her to focus on her work. Was that common at the time?
Yeah, Rubin had a very supportive partner in her husband, Robert. They shared responsibility for raising their children, which is really the only reason why Vera was able to leave her 4 children at home and travel to observe at observatories all around the world. What Vera and Robert had, I don't think was very common, but it really speaks to the importance of having support not only in the workplace, but at home as well.
So one of the ultimate examples of an inflexible education setting is the physically unwelcoming atmosphere at Palomar Observatory. This is one of my favorite Vera Rubin stories. Sam, can you tell everybody about the bathroom?
Even though Rubin picked a topic that wasn't of great interest to most astronomers, she still wanted to use the best telescopes available, which largely were not available to women. Rubin was the first woman to officially get to observe at Palomar Observatory in Southern California, which at the time had the world's largest telescope. Since there were typically no women at the observatory, all of the restrooms were designated for men. One evening, Rubin decided to fix that, so she cut out a paper skirt and taped it onto the bathroom.
So how did Vera Rubin work to encourage other women in astronomy?
Rubin tried to not only be a role model and mentor for other women in astronomy, but she actively fought to change the community to be more inviting for women. She advocated for hiring women faculty, inviting women speakers to major conferences, and honoring women with awards that had historically only been given to men.
Sam, thanks so much for joining me and for telling everyone one of my favorite stories in astronomy.
You're welcome, Shannon. It was so much fun to be here.
Vera Rubin's story is one of my favorite stories of women in STEM. Who inspires you and your students? You can let us know in the comments below. Also, check out the playlist for more teacher tips. Thanks for joining us today.